We, we were
Hello,
in a
everyone.
different Zoom. Sorry, go ahead.
That was probably in our internal invite that needs to change, Murli.
Yeah, I'll take care of that.
So welcome everyone to our first community call meeting of 2024. And I hope you all had a good, restful holidays. Uh, Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you are. Starting off with uh, the people online. I think, Paul, you had some conversation that was very interesting that I think we should discuss in this meeting, and let's hear what the community has to say. But beyond that, as part of some of the updates that we've had, I think we have a release 1.9.8 that went out a couple of days back with some minor fixes and changes. And I know some of our maintainers are working on some possibly big projects like fogs, looking at QX and updating those things. It will take some time, obviously, as they're all working off of after the regular office hours. Same thing, I think Xiao is also working on a few things, and my team and Kaibar is also working on some of the development-oriented work for components, etc., which will all take time, but that's work in progress. We are slowly settling in as maintainers and trying to find regular time in order to how we can progress the software better. But at the same time, we are looking forward for community participation just as much. Interesting conversations, and at the same time, PRs are most welcome. That'll help us further this wonderful project forward. I don't have any other update, seeing that we've all been on a good break. We can go into any discussions that the community has. And after that, I have Peng Fei from Ant Group, who recently wrote up a blog post on using KCL, a language for as an SDK that could be used for building up your applications for KubeVela. And I will let him speak about that after. But first, does the community have anything that we need to discuss right now?
I was given the opportunity for anybody else to come in, but yes. So our discussion on Slack about versions. Should we discuss that a little bit?
Yes, please. So, Paul, you want to start off with the intro to the problem, and then we can listen to what others have to say as well.
Yeah. So this is following a post that was put on the Slack by Frederick Boismanu. And it's about if you're writing a definition, how do you control versions of it effectively? So if you create a new version of, web server, how is that propagated through the system? And at the moment, what happens is you apply the def, and it gets a new version number, but you don't know what that version number is going to be. It's just going to be the next integer from the previous one. And you can refer to it from your app.yaml or your application manifest and say, I want this particular web server, but how are you going to know what number it is? And as we usually find, dev clusters, if you've got separate dev and prod clusters, they might have different version numbers for the same thing. So what you really want to do is specify, I feel, is to specify a version number in the definition and say this is version 1.0.7 and with proper semantic versioning, not integer versioning. And then we've had some discussions as well where we're saying, well, yeah, maybe you could have a requirement that in your app def, actually it's not a particular version you want, but you want at least a version. So you might want greater than web service v3 or 1.0.3, which was a really good suggestion from Fog. But as I mentioned there, I think probably it needs to be semver. And also you need to be able to define what the version is when you create a component definition. That's kind of the statement.
Yeah, and that is the component definition aspect of things. And then the application, you still need to mention along with the semantic version in your application, right? Or using some sort of equality like greater than 1.0.0.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I wasn't particularly clear, obviously, but yeah, no, that's what I meant. So in the application, yeah, you need to say web service at v1.0.3 and it needs to refer to that version number. And because we've already got a version field, maybe the suggestion would be to use a different field. component
I
version
think,
or semver or something for backwards compatibility. But also, yeah, as you say, you might want to say greater than web service v 1.0 or something.
right.
Yeah.
And the other thing is when you are working with multiple clusters, you have to make sure those component versions actually exist in that cluster. For example, I mean, I'm taking your example, Paul. You have dev, into staging and then production. You have to
Yep.
make sure that when an application goes to production, making sure those respective components in it with those versions are actually present before the application is there.
I mean, you could, but you also could take the easier to ask for forgiveness and permission approach, which is that, well, if it isn't there, it fails.
Yeah.
And then your pipeline
Yeah.
fails, and then because I mean, I've got we work on AKS, Azure Kubernetes Services, and we use Azure DevOps pipelines. So I have a pipeline that I would run that would set up the cluster, and part of that would be if we incorporated all this, it would be to make sure that the latest versions of the components are applied to the cluster. So that's how I'd do it. But yeah, it might be easier to go that route and just fail if the version's not there.
Yeah. One of the way I was thinking, and I don't know whether this is right or wrong, is if you have a config map of that maintains the available versions in that particular cluster. And if you're using something like KCL or something, some programmatic way like YTT or Carvel, etc., for building up your application, and this is more like a injection into the YAML file based on whatever is the latest, that could mask the error, but then it may not be what you want because you may not see an error. You might be still using an older version. So there are pros and cons to
Yeah, well, I
that
mean,
approach
my
as well.
personal opinion was you never use latest in any way, shape, or form. You must always explicitly say what version you want.
That's fair. That's fair.
So I mean, I like the idea of the greater than. I don't think I'd use it. I'd want to explicitly state that this is the version I'm having. There's swings and roundabouts with it. It's debatable, but I don't like any form of latest myself. I want to be explicit.
Awesome. And I think being explicit eliminates a lot of, if during debugging, it eliminates a lot of guesswork around which version has been used, etc. So I think being explicit has its advantages, except for when you're in dev and you do want to use the latest and you do want that to pick up latest. Maybe there's a case for that. But yes, in anything
Yeah,
that
agreed. So if
production,
you're not doing something which is developing the web service, but doing something else, at that point you might want the latest. Yeah.
yeah.
There's also the flip side there that you almost sort of want automatic numbering in that case rather than the explicitly stating. I don't know. It's yeah. I didn't fully form that thought. I think sometimes if you're in things like dev, you do want it just to auto increment the number, because for instance, you might apply something, forget to update it, and you've now made 1.03 a completely different 1.03. I mean, you shouldn't with 1.03 anyway, right? That should only be a patch. But yeah, issues around that discuss. I think we probably should come up with a proposal for this, and everybody can hack into it. Yeah.
I completely agree. I think this is a great discussion, and I know at Guidewire, Lena and James, I think you guys have also been thinking on these things. If you have any thoughts, please feel free to raise them here. Otherwise, I think let's all collaborate and create an issue and discuss the pros and cons of this. I think we discussed this a long time back in KubeVela. I had this exact same problems with the versioning. But it sort of died down, and I think it's time to resurface them. It'll be helpful if you can get all the input from the community on what they are thinking and what they're doing with their systems.
Yeah, I mean, the reason it came up is because I've got an internal definition that I use a trait, and I need to update it, and it's a breaking change. So how do I manage that? Well, I'm going to have to call it, my trait -v2. I mean, it's the only way to deal with it right now, I feel. But yeah, so let's come up with a better solution.
Paul and Xiao, you guys have anything to add?
So just to make it clear, our currently preference will be add the custom version in the component and also trait and workflow definition, right? I think by adding this won't make too much big change. So I'm good with this solution if my understanding is correct.
Yes, I think adding the version would be much more helpful than having to append the version to the component name. But that said, the problems with regards to how does the progressive delivery of the app happen, I think that's more a philosophical question, and would be based on needs. I think that is something if we can discuss in an issue and form an opinion or options that we can put in documentation. I think that might be way to go. But I think doing the versioning and having the possibility to use equality would be helpful. Probably not yet for Paul, because I think because of explicit nature of how he wants to add it. And I think I support that for production and anywhere else. But there could be situations where having the greater than capability on versioning would make a difference.
Yeah, I think this solution make the version implicit to explicit so that users can leverage the
Exactly.
more capability of versions. Yeah, and we can just create an issue in the community and getting work on this. Yeah.
Awesome. Paul, do you mind, since you well, it was Frederick, but he's not here. Paul, do you mind creating an issue, and then we could all
Yeah, I knew that was coming my way. Yeah. So just
it's okay.
just do it as. Of course, it's okay. So yeah, an issue in the GitHub for KubeVela, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'll get on that. Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing to add to that, we've discussed using like CRD versioning standards, so V1, alpha, beta, etc., for our component definition versions. I think in some ways that's going to be a little bit easier than standard semantic versioning, and there would be no requirement to create like a patch version on a non-breaking change.
That's an input.
Interesting
Let's-
one. I'm not really all over that, the way the alpha, beta, etc. works, but yeah, definitely that should be a thread of conversation on the issue.
I agree. I think, Lena, if you don't mind adding on to the comments there, I think let's listen to what the community has to say in general, and then go with the best approach that is for KubeVela.
Sure.
Awesome. Great. Anybody else have any other topics? If nothing, we have Pengfei from Ant Group, who has introduced KCL as a language to build out the application YAMLs, etc., as a templating language. And Pengfei, please feel free to correct me if I've misstated anything. And he has a small demo that he wanted to show us. The floor is yours, Pengfei, if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself and what KCL does and how it fits into the KubeVela ecosystem, that'd be great.
Okay, can you hear me? Let me show my
Yes.
screen.
Loud and clear.
Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Hello everyone. My name is Pifai. The real name is Pengfei Xu. I come from Ant Group, the owner of the KCL project. Today I will share the whole KCL project and KubeVela and the KCL integration. Firstly, let me show you some concepts. As a configuration language, the most important feature provided by KCL to application and platform developers and is dynamic configuration management and application delivery by abstracting code and using templates, validating and mutating resources. Using KCL schemas and functions, the platform can provide developers with an application-centric and easy-to-understand interface and workflow, including CI, CD, and different runtimes. In addition, when this interface cannot meet the requirements, KCL allows platform users to quickly expand and define their own models. And these models can be reused through OCI registries. In addition to the standalone KCL form, KCL also supports the KRM form to support the separation of the configuration data and the logic, and it meets the KRM function spec and supports KCL code storage in multiple sources such as OCI, Git, and through the standard spec, KCL not only supports the customizing models and generating resources, but also supports to mutate or validate existing Kubernetes resources. For platform developers, they can use the KCL import tool to convert other formats, including CRD, YAML to KCL schema and config. Besides, they can search the KCL models or libraries they need from the registry. Next, they can build an abstraction model to render Kubernetes manifests and offer the interface for the application developers. And we will offer CLI or APIs to modify the KCL code to delivery. And we are trying to offer a config UI to improve the efficiency. Whether using the standalone KCL or KRM KCL form, we support integration with CI/CD and GitOps tools. Git robots with KCL automation APIs can complete automatic configuration modifications through the KCL API, improving the application delivery efficiency. In addition to Argo CD, KCL can also integrate with many other projects in the community, mainly including KCL module libraries such as Istio, OEM. Besides, we have offered a KCL import tool to migrate data and schema to KCL, such as Protobuf, OpenAPI, CRDs. We can use cloud-native tools and KCL integrations to generate, validate, and mutate Kubernetes resources, such as kubectl, crossplane. At runtime, we also offer KCL operator to mutate or validate resources using the Kubernetes webhook. Of course, KCL can also serve as other tools to for the dynamic configuration management on the client side, such as CleanStack and KubeVela. For KubeVela, we can use OEM module written by KCL to manage the configuration. There are two workflows for the we can use VelaUp or Argo CD to apply KCL config to the cluster. Let me show you the demo. Sorry. Can you see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Sorry, wait. Firstly, what we do is to init the KCL project and the OEM and Kubernetes dependencies. Sorry. Then can be seen the OEM, and the OEM module has been added to the dependency.
So Pengfei, I have a question. Does this have a direct dependency on the version of KubeVela?
No. The latest version has the KubeVela alpha and beta modules. We can see from the screen. Let me go to definition. Sorry. We can see that the OEM latest version has V1 beta 1 application models. Yes, the OEM and the Kubernetes dependency has been added. Next, we can use. Sorry. My screen. We can use the KCL command and Vela command to apply the configuration. Sorry. Sorry, wait some minutes.
No worries. You're downloading some dependencies?
No, my VS Code is broken.
Okay.
Sorry. Sorry. Wait some minutes. Sorry.
Sure. While you're working this out, so what special features does KCL provide compared to other templating languages like Q, or if I were to use something like like YTT, Carvel, etc. What extra features does KCL provide?
Okay, wait some minutes.
Sure.
For KCL language, we have do a lot of work on the experience for developers. For example, KCL provides complete toolchain support, including testing, linked, and documentation tools. In addition, we support multiple IDE extensions through a unified language server. Besides, we have store and display KCL code packages through the package management tools and Artifact Hub. I think the specific features of KCL are the experience for developers. On the other hand, the performance of KCL is more fast than other languages or templating tools. The KCL offer multiple config operators. For example, Q has pinpoints on the config patching, but for the KCL has multiple merge strategies for multiple configurations and policies.
Cool, thanks. So essentially, we could create our application YAMLs with the KCL, package them, and deploy them into an artifact hub of some sort, easily enough for others to consume.
Sorry, pardon?
No, I was just stating that, with KCL, our application YAMLs could be packaged, or applications could be packaged, OEM applications could be packaged and deployed in an artifact hub, which could then be consumed by others through any CI/CD mechanism.
Yes, or we can package the KCL OEM module to the OCI registry, and other people can download or apply it to the cluster.
Got it.
Sorry, I will
Well, just while you're
restart.
carrying on with that, then I mean, I'm interested in that sounds a bit like the problem with Helm, which is it's brilliant if you're an off-the-shelf software manufacturer going to be deploying lots of different people are going to be deploying your software, and it becomes more complicated if you're just trying to use it for yourself within your organization, just deploying your workload to dev staging prod. And that sounds the same, because if you're just deploying it to dev staging prod, your internal workload, why would you care about Artifact Hub?
That is correct, unless you're distributing that software outside. Yeah, that's true.
But I'd be interested to know, out of the people who use KubeVela, how many are doing third-party stuff and how many are doing internal only. I would have thought it was the latter, but I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, we don't bundle anything for the outside. But I could see value for some of our customers where we give pre-created bundles, because they don't consume applications directly. We have our own proxy UI through which everything happens, and this could possibly make it easy instead of triggering it through CI. But yeah, we don't, and it's good enough as it is for the application YAML. But this is another way, if anybody else in the community has a need to distribute, it's another option out there.
No, it's interesting, and I'm not criticizing KCL at all. It was only the discussion about Artifact Hub. so carry on.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
Yeah. It's always good to give the options to the community, right?
Oh, indeed, yeah.
Oh, Pengtai, if the demo isn't working, you want to just continue with your slides, and we could do a demo at a later point in time.
The Kubernetes dependencies are downloading. When they are downloaded, I can show my slides. It may be wait some minutes. Sorry.
Sure. I mean, you could go ahead with the slides in the meantime while they're downloading. Pengfei, do you want to reschedule the demo for the next meeting, or do you think we are close to running it?
I think they've dropped,
Oh,
unless I'm
I
mistaken.
see him, but it says muted. Pengfei, I'm just want to make sure that I'm not pronouncing the name wrong.
Sorry, the dependency are downloading. Wait some minutes. If they are not downloaded, I can't show you the next steps. Sorry.
Okay. Do you want to reschedule to the next community meeting if you think it's going to take time?
My network the dependencies are download finished.
Oh,
I
okay.
Okay.
Cool.
I show my OS code.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, the Kubernetes and the OEM module dependency are downloading. We can see the application YAML output. Next, we can we can see we have applied the KCL code to the cluster, and we use the KubeVela command to show the application. Sorry. And we can see the KCL Playground application is running in my browser. I can click some button, and we can see the application is running successfully. Thank you.
Cool. Anybody has any questions for Pengfei?
I will show my.
I mean, I guess maybe just more. What does this bring as an advantage over just writing the YAML? I mean, I know this is a simple example, right? But
yes, we can see the
what is the
ID
amazing
feature.
thing this does that YAML doesn't?
We can see the ID features in my VS Code. You can see the documentation of the OEM application in my screen, and we can see the diagnostic if I type a typo in the application module instead of YAML. I will show you some other features. I can use the definition feature in my KCL IDE. With the KCL IDE, I can do anything else in the other language that we cannot do in YAML. And we can use the KCL loop and conditional features. For example, we can define a variable named env. Sorry, prod. We can see the type of env is string, and I can we can see the completion items when I type enter in the application schema. We can type if prod. It can be seen that. Sorry. We can define a condition including the env variables. When the environment is production, the name is product name. We can override the field easily.
So basically, it's more strongly typed, and you have some more flexibility than YAML in terms of programmatic loops or control statements. Can we use can we like connect to a third-party system, call an API, get some information, for example, let's say the port and all of those things. If I have all that information in a separate service and I need to fetch it from there, could I make REST API calls and then get the information that I need to put in as values?
Yes. In KCL, we can use top-level arguments features. For example, the env is let me show you an example. We can run KCL. We can see I input a top-level argument named environment. Its value is prod. We can see the application name is KCL Play Service prod, not the service other env, but we don't input the variable. We can see the name of the application is the other environment.
Got it. Can you make API calls to get the environment?
In KCL, we can write KCL plugins to call the API to get the environment. The plugin is written by Python. You can see more documentations on the KCL website. And I cannot show you the demo because I have already placed it.
Okay, understood. Cool.
Can we embed KCL as a template engine in other software?
Yes. Let me show you my slides. Wait some minutes. Can you see my slides?
Yes, we can.
In the community, we have many configuration tools such as kubectl, Helm, Helmfield, and Crossplane. We can use KCL to write the KCL functions to enhancement the templating features of the tools. For example, we can write KCL composition functions for the crossplane, and I can show you an example for the KCL crossplane functions. Wait. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yep.
Cross-plane customize and KPT offers a feature named KRM function, and we have offered a spec named the KRM KCL spec. That means we can write functions in the YAML to enhancement the capabilities of cross-plane. For example, we can use the KCL function to render the cross-plane input resources and output multiple resources. For example, in the cross-plane KCL function, we have input a resource named network, and we use the network resources and render two resources named VPC and gateway. That means we can use the KCL config and other features to enhancement the templating features of cross-plane. Because cross-plane has limitation on the templating features, because it has not offered a feature, offered condition and loop features. You can see the documents on the KCL website. And in same way, we can write KCL functions to the customize and helm tools. And we have supported multiple sources. We can see here, you can write KCL code in the YAML, and we can write KCL code on the GitHub or the OCI registry. And we just reference this KCL function using the source field.
It's interesting. James, does that answer your question? Did you have anything else? You're on mute.
Sorry, that's a great answer. Thank you.
Anybody else have anything for Pengfei?
Can you use KCL in its native form, like without any external plugins? Can we use it to interact with Kubernetes objects? For example, like the application that you're showing, you're having a loop inside. So if we just check for a presence of a service, then only you apply the application. Something like that. Is that possible?
Do you mean the service resources in the cluster?
Yeah, for example, I have a use case wherein, let's say I want to apply the application only if a service X is present in a namespace X, right? So whenever I run Vela run and then your KCL application, within the code of KCL, can I refer, like, can I check if for the presence of service X? This is just a basic example to explain my use case.
Do you have an example?
I think what he's saying is that he wants to be able to deploy a particular application, but before deploying that application, he wants to validate that another pod or service is running in a different namespace. He wants to validate if that is running, then because probably there's a runtime dependency between these two applications. I'm assuming, Rohan, that's what you're coming to.
Yeah. Like the status section, or even if I'm able to reference the spec of a pod or any Kubernetes object and directly consume it, if I want to directly consume it inside the application. So can it be possible through KCL?
But I think KCL is only rendering the application, the deployment. It is not, as far as I understand it, it is not stopping or pausing a deployment, right? By the time you've run the KCL run, it has templated the KCL code into YAML, and it is actually doing the deployment. If you're
Yeah.
looking at runtime dependency management. I don't think that's possible, but Pengfei, I'll let you answer.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
So thank you, Pengfei, for this informative presentation. If anybody has any needs, please refer to kcl-lang.io for documentation. And if there's any needs for you in the community, take a look. Also, please give back your experiences to the KubeVela community on how you've been using any of these tools and anything that you think others could learn from you. Please feel free to bring them to the community call. Unless anybody else has anything else to add, I think we could call this done. Happy New Year to everyone.
Well,
But
just
first,
before we go,
yes.
I will no doubt tidy it up, but the issue regarding version support and definitions has been added as 6435.
Awesome.
Repo.
Thank you, Paul. Anybody else have any last words for this meeting? That is. If not, Happy New Year to all of you and your loved ones. Have a great year ahead. We'll see you in the next community call, which will be 3 weeks from now. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.